Hello, everyone. This is Pramila Jnanarani, your biology teacher. Hope you're all doing well. Be happy with what you have and be excited about what you want. The happiest people don't have the best of everything, but make the best of everything. So, with this attitude of making the best of everything, let's start this session. In this session, we are going to learn about the control and coordination part 2, that is about the controlling systems. Before moving on to this session, let's have a recap of what we have learned in the previous session. In the previous session, we learnt about the control and coordinating systems, their importance, and under the coordinating systems, we learnt about the nervous tissue, the structure and function, reflex action, about the hormones, and coordination in plants as well as the role of phytohormones. I hope you're all aware of what we have learned in the previous session. Now let's move on to today's topics. Today we are going to deal with the nervous system. We are going to learn about the parts of the nervous system and about the controlling systems in detail, namely the brain structure and function as well as the spinal cord. Let's move on to this flowchart here. Before moving on to this flowchart, let me ask you one question, children. What do you mean by nervous system? Yes, the system that controls your actions or movements are referred as what? The nervous system. This nervous system can be compared to an electric circuit. You have seen an electric circuit, isn't it, children? The electric circuit consists of what? Many wires taking the power supply to different rooms in your home. The same way, the nervous system consists of controlling systems and coordinating systems. That is, they have the controlling units and the coordinating units. The controlling units are the central nervous system, that is CNS, peripheral nervous system, that is PNS, and autonomic nervous system, that is ANS. Now let me move on to the central nervous system. As the name implies, it is situated in the center of a body. Now the central nervous system consists of the brain and the spinal cord. Let's move on to the peripheral nervous system. The peripheral nervous system consists of the cranial nerves and the spinal nerves. The cranial nerves arise from the brain and there are 12 pairs of cranial nerves, children. I hope you are following what I am saying, isn't it, children? Now, let's move on to the spinal nerves. These nerves arise from the spinal cord. There are 31 pairs of spinal nerves. Now over to autonomic nervous system. This autonomic nervous system controls the involuntary actions. Now you might wonder, this system consists of two systems that are like Tom and Jerry. That is, if one behaves like a hero, the other a villain. Let me tell you, these two systems are the sympathetic system and the parasympathetic system. For instance, when you face danger, you try to face it or you will try to run away from the danger. This sense is given by the sympathetic nervous system, that is, fight or flight sensation causes what? This is caused by the sympathetic nervous system. So, during the sensation, your heartbeat rises, your BP rises, and not only that, your pupils get dilated. When these things happen, what about the parasympathetic? Yes, when such situations arise, this parasympathetic, as I've told you, when one behaves as a hero, the other behaves like a villain. So they work in opposite way. So, as the sympathetic nervous system sensing the danger, it causes the increase in blood pressure, increase in heart rate, and the dilation of pupil. This parasympathetic comes into action at that time and decreases the blood pressure, decreases the heartbeat, as well as constriction of pupil takes place. Now, in this video, you can see the central nervous system. Here, in this video, the objective is to make you understand how the central nervous system works. You can see the nervous system is responsible for what? Sending, receiving, and interpreting informations that are got from the stimulus. Now here the nerves take the informations to the brain, which is the controlling unit, and to the spinal cord, which is also a controlling unit. These are protected by coverings called meninges. They are dura mater, arachnoid mater, and pia mater. In between them, there is a cushion-like substance called as the cerebrospinal fluid or CSF, which protects the brain and the spinal cord from getting shocks. That is, from being getting damaged when any accident take place. Now, this cerebrospinal fluid can be compared to the cushion. That is, see for example, have you seen stunt person doing stunts? I hope you have all seen Jackie Chan and Bruce Lee movies. If you happen to see at the end of the film, you can see a shooting where the stunts are taking place. When they are doing stunts, they will be protecting the person who does the stunt from getting severe injuries. That is, they keep a cushion while they are doing the stunt. The same way, the brain and the spinal cord are protected from getting injured severely by the cerebrospinal fluid. Now, the brain is kept safely in a protective covering called as the skull or the cranium. Now, the cranial cavity, that is the skull, is made up of 28 bones. They are one frontal bone, two parietal bones, two temporal bones, one occipital bone, one sphenoid bone, and one ethmoid bone. Apart from these 8 bones, it is made up of 14 facial bones and 3 small bones in each ear. So the skull is made up of how many bones, children? Yes, 28 bones. Now coming to the spinal cord. The spinal cord extends from the neck to the trunk region. This consists of the cervical region, thoracic region, lumbar region, and the spinal nerves region. This spinal cord is protected by the vertebral column. Now, let me move on to the another video which shows the forebrain, midbrain, and hindbrain. Here, as what you see, the forebrain, which is the cerebrum, it is the largest part. It consists of informations, that is, transferring of information takes place from the forebrain to the white color part called as the midbrain and to the brainstem. Here you can see the brain, left hemisphere and the right hemisphere of the cerebrum. Left hemisphere is for logical thinking, right hemisphere is for creative thinking. Now, here you can see the informations traveling from the cerebrum to the midbrain, that is the diencephalon, and to the brainstem consisting of the pons varolii and the medulla oblongata. Now, The forebrain is cerebrum. Now, here again you can see the video representing the largest part, the cerebrum, that is the forebrain called as the prosencephalon, travels the information to the midbrain called as the mesencephalon and to the hindbrain that consists of the yellow color part, the cerebellum, and the brainstem. Here, as what you see already, left hemisphere is for what, children? Logical thinking. Right hemisphere is for what? Creative thinking. I hope you're all clear with the parts of the brain, namely the forebrain, midbrain, and the hindbrain. Forebrain is referred as the cerebrum. Midbrain is referred as what? The mesencephalon. The hindbrain consists of what? The cerebellum and the medulla oblongata as well as the pons. Here the cerebellum is responsible for what? Actions like running, walking, and not only that, this helps in coordination of the muscles to balance while you walk or run, to give you a better posture, and it also tones your muscles. Now, coming to the working of the midbrain. The midbrain is responsible for what, children? For the auditory reflexes, and the pons together with the medulla are responsible for what? Involuntary actions like the salivation, drooling, chewing, beating of the heart, as well as coughing and sneezing. So the reflexes are given by both the pons and the medulla oblongata. So this hindbrain is referred as what? The controlling of involuntary actions. So let me tell you once again, children, what is the forebrain referred as? Yes, the forebrain can be called as the cerebrum or the prosencephalon. The midbrain is referred as what? The mesencephalon. And the hindbrain is referred as rhombencephalon. Let me ask you one question. What are all the parts of hindbrain? Yes, you're right. The hindbrain consists of what? The pons varolii, medulla oblongata, and the cerebellum. Let's move on to the another video showing you the different lobes. That is, we are going to learn about the anatomy and the functional areas of the brain. So you see cerebrum, cerebellum, brainstem. And here the brain is divided into lobes: frontal, parietal, occipital, and temporal. Now this cross section shows you clearly frontal, parietal, temporal, occipital, cerebellum, and the brainstem. This upper view, you can see the pink color refers to the frontal lobe, blue color parietal lobe, and the red color occipital lobe. See, you can see the bottom view also. You can see a cream color stem, that is the brainstem, that consists of medulla and the pons. You can see the clear view of the lobes of the brain. Now, when you have different lobes, that is, do you know why different lobes are present in the cerebrum? Yes, the cerebrum is divided into, we know that it is divided into two hemispheres. As it is the largest part, the division of labor should take place. So that's why the cerebral hemisphere, that is the cerebrum, is divided into different lobes, namely the frontal lobe, parietal lobe, temporal lobe, and the occipital lobe. Now let's move on to the functions done by the frontal lobe. You can see the eye movement, higher mental functions, speech, that is the way you speak different languages, and the flow, whether it is a slow speech or a very fast speech. Now the voluntary motor function. All these things are done by the frontal lobe. Now coming to the grey color part, which is marked as the sensory function. This is the part, that is, the sensory information is passed on by the parietal lobe. Now coming to the language comprehension as well as the hearing part. These two functions are done by the temporal lobe. Now, and the last one, vision, which is colored with purple. This part is referred as the occipital lobe, which is responsible for transferring the visual informations. So let me make it clear, children. The lobes of the brains are what? Yes, you are right. Frontal lobe, which is for reasoning and thought. Parietal lobe, which is for sensory informations. Temporal lobe is for auditory information. And occipital lobe for visual information. I hope you can follow what I am saying. Now here you can see the cerebellum is marked with what? Coordination. That is, as what you already know, that the cerebellum is for proper muscle coordination. That is, it helps in coordinating the muscles properly. That is, it helps us to walk in equilibrium, that is, balancing. It helps, and not only that, it helps us to maintain the good posture as well as it tones our muscles. Now, I hope the bodybuilders will be having a proper functioning cerebellum. That's why they are able to have a toned muscular body. Now, let us move on to the table which is seen here. In this table, you can see the different lobes and their functions. Here, in the left side corner, you can see the hemispheres of the cerebrum, that is the left and the right, as well as the different lobes of the cerebrum. I hope you have all understood what I have taught you, children. Are you aware of what you have taught in this session, children? Meet you next time. Until then, be good and be safe.